Are you a busy mom who struggles to stay energized and focused throughout the day? Do you feel like you're always running on empty, no matter how much you try to juggle all of your responsibilities? If so, you're not alone. Many moms struggle to find the energy and focus they need to get everything done. But what if there was a solution that could help you feel more energized and focused, even on the busiest days? Introducing Magic Mind, the nootropic supplement drink that's specifically designed to help busy moms like you stay energized and focused. Their blend of natural ingredients is carefully formulated to support brain function so you can stay sharp and on top of your game. Whether you're working, taking care of the kids, or trying to juggle both, Magic Mind can help you stay focused and productive. Don't miss out on this amazing opportunity to try Magic Mind and see the difference it can make in your life. Go to magicmind.co/unstressed and get 40% off your subscription for the next 10 days with my code UNSTRESS20. With Magic Mind, you'll have the energy and focus you need to tackle even the busiest days with ease. So don't wait and try Magic Mind today and see the benefits for yourself. That's www.magicmind.co/unstressed. You're listening to the Motherhood Unstressed podcast, and I'm your host, Liz Carlisle. Thank you so much for tuning in. I am so glad you're here, as always. And of course, I'm thrilled to share the work of my guest with you this week, because every single guest that I have on brings it every single week, like with so much knowledge, so much experience, so much expertise in the fields of parenting or self-help or self-love. And I really try to curate guests that are going to make your life better, whether it's through sharing their story or just through sharing research that they've done on ways to make us all healthier and happier. And that's exactly what my guest is doing this week. I'm speaking with Dr. Sarah Ivens. She's a certified life coach and author of 9 lifestyle and wellness books, including Forest Therapy and No Regrets, where she also gives helpful guides on how to better your life. Originally from London, Dr. Ivens moved to New York, where she spent 5 years as OK Magazine's editor-in-chief and 2 years working in Los Angeles for HBO. This week, I'm having her on the show to talk about her new book, Get Real, which is part memoir, part blueprint for well-being. And in it, Dr. Ivens is helping readers identify the things that are truly important in life by equipping them with motivation, self-healing techniques, and actionable advice needed to improve mental and physical well-being. So, of course, we're going to dive into parenting, but also marriage. And I think that no matter where you are in your phase in life, I think we always are on that path to make it better, to improve, whether it's our health, our mental health, our spiritual health, whatever it may be. So I'm so thrilled to share her words with you today. If you enjoy this episode, please share it out, leave us a review, and tag us on social media at Motherhood Unstressed if you enjoyed this particular episode. Please enjoy this episode with Dr. Sarah Ivens. Well, hello, Dr. Ivens. Welcome to the show. I'm so glad that you're here.
Thank you. I am too.
Yeah, I mean, your book is phenomenal. That's really why we're here. We're here to discuss the message and the meaning in the book. Why Get Real? Why this book? Why now?
You know what? It came about because I was so sad when I was talking to my friends and my family. You know, I'm from England, you can hear. My friends in the UK, my friends here where I live in the US. And they were all trying so hard and pushing so hard and aiming for perfection and aiming to be busy all the time or needed all the time or wanted all the time. And it was all this big charade, building. And even though on the surface, they all looked like they were doing incredibly well, and I looked like I was doing incredibly well, they were all happy and busy and fulfilled. Inside, in those honest, raw moments of connection that I had with my friends and family, and when I sat down on my own and actually thought about what I needed and what I was about, I realized so much of it was just fake and false. And we were pursuing goals that were, you know, utterly meaningless in a way. We were all spending more and more time on social media, trying to connect with people via social media. And that wasn't fulfilling a need that we've had, that our ancestors have had for thousands of years of, you know, leaning over the garden fence to chat to the next door neighbour, or getting involved in the school community, or meeting up with friends that have known you since you were nothing, and just bonding. And we'd all sort of distanced ourselves from what was real. And I was like, yeah, this isn't doing any of us any good. And at the time, I just finished a PhD, and my PhD was in humanities that was focused on motherhood and a specific time of motherhood that was during the reign of Elizabeth II in England. So I was looking at how a woman's life, essentially, as a mother had changed from 1953 to the current day. And so I was reading all these political and social and economic papers, and they were saying, no, it's never been better for women. It's never been better. We have these laws and these acts and these rights, and we get this free now, and our children get this free now, and my children have never been richer and better fed and more educated. And so I was reading all this stuff on paper and then having conversations that didn't marry up. So really it was those two things. It was a combination of just looking at myself and thinking, why do I need to post this right now? Or why am I feeling like I'm 46? And why am I feeling at 46 I'm past it and I don't look great and I need to do this? Why am I feeling all these things that I know are not real and not meaningful? And then combined with the fact that I really wanted to get behind why women and mothers in theory have never had it better, but we've also never been so medicated or so depressed or so anxious. And so it was that, and really the year I spent researching Get Real really showed me how we'd sort of moved away from common sense. Like common sense wasn't common anymore. And we all know what we should be doing. We all know we should be checking in with our mums and our sisters. We all know we should be making time for dinner with our best mates who make our hearts light up. And we all know we should put our phones down and just look into our children's faces and share those moments with them, you know, properly, rather than trying to do a million things at once. But we're all forgetting how to. And so really the book is just, it's not bossy, it's not instructive, it's more of a gentle reminder to all of us that, you know, we can return to the simple days of even that we probably most of us had in our childhoods. Like I remember a time, you know, I remember sending my first email when I was 19. I remember getting my first phone when I was 21, like mobile phone, cell phone. So I remember after school, my life was essentially dumping my bag, having some hot butter toast, and then running out into the street with my friends, and my mum knowing the other mums in the streets. They could be like, you know, Vera, send her back at 6 or send her back when the sun starts to go down. And just having this much more organic, loose, free life that wasn't all about what other people would think. Yeah. So I suppose, I mean, that's what we need to reclaim, right? So really it's a blueprint for reclaiming what we all know is right and what we all know we should be doing more of.
I love that because it is so true. You know, life is changing so rapidly. And I feel like I'm saying this a lot lately, just with everything that's been going on in the world. Like things are changing so quickly with AI, with big data, all of that. And now it's like we need these reminders, and it's sad that we do, but at the same time, I think we're all in the same toxic soup. You know, we're all behaving this way. And unless you really slow down and give yourself that space that you're talking about, you're writing about, you kind of just keep barreling on and keep medicating and keep losing sleep and keep doing without ever really being there.
Yeah, well, it's addictive, isn't it? I mean, these devices and these forums, they want us to get addicted. My greatest lesson in the last few years has been my daughter, who is 8, who I mean, it's horrible when I say it, I dislike myself. She'll have learned to do a backflip or something. And she's like, Mummy, come and look at my backflip. I'm like, yeah, in a minute. And I'm not even engaging in anything meaningful. It's not like I'm reading Shakespeare. I'm looking at some ridiculous thing that I'll forget in 2 minutes anyway. Mm-hmm. And she's like, Mum, please put your phone down. And again, as my children are getting older, so I have a 10-year-old and an 8-year-old, I'm learning to control my use of devices and social media because I'm worried about them. And how can I say to my son, no, you can't spend 4 days in a row on Minecraft when he's like, but you've always got your phone in your hand.
Right.
So it's actually interesting how my children are almost like parenting me to have some common sense and some boundaries around this, because you're right. the world is moving at such a pace now with AI and everything, that we're all essentially becoming robots. And it sounds very dramatic and sort of sci-fi to say that, but when you walk through, I was in London for the summer, and when you walk through beautiful city streets where literally thousands of years of stories and tragedies and romances and dramas, and you can feel it in the energy of the architecture and the cobblestones you're walking on, and people are ignoring that and just looking at their phone. There's literally like armies of people just staring at their phone. It's really sad. So yes, so it is, as you say, it's totally common sense. We all know we need to do it.
Yeah. And it's almost like we need to be in a state of pain to realize what's going on, a state of depression. And until we finally do look up from the phone and say like, hey, what is going on? Like, where am I in life? How do I fit into this whole big, cosmic universe? And so, in the book, you talk about ways to kind of step back and to tune back in. What to the woman listening to this, what can she start doing today to start giving herself that space?
Yeah, well, the first thing, I'm a big advocate for this, is forest therapy, which is essentially going out for a walk and getting your vitamin D, getting your fresh air, blowing away the cobwebs, and actually looking at your surroundings. So it's not getting out into nature, reconnecting with nature. It isn't a meditation, but it almost can be if you're watching the clouds or you're listening to the rain. That has been the number one thing for my mental health since I became a mum. Actually making time for myself. I go for a hike to this sort of local beauty spot here in Austin, Texas, 4 mornings a week. I go on my own listening to an audiobook, or I go with a good friend, and we have an hour every morning as soon as we drop the kids off, and we see deer and we see armadillos, and we notice the weather changing and the trees changing, and whatever the weather is. So if it's like here in Texas, it could be 100 degrees, or there could be like black rain clouds coming and you're about to get soaked. Whatever the weather, we just get outside and we pay attention to our surroundings. And that's been a huge thing, because we're also told now that we always have to be contactable and engaged in this whole big world. But actually, it's sometimes really powerful in a self-care, well-being way to just close your world in a bit. You don't need to know what's happening with every celebrity you've ever seen on TV. It's really important to know what the girl next door is up to. So that's my number one thing for well-being, really, in these crazy times. And they have been. The last 2 years have just been shocking. And that's been the number one thing for me, just making sure that I get out. And even if I don't have the ability to get out because I've got the kids here, or I have a call I have to do in a minute or whatever, even just standing outside in the garden for a minute and listening to bird song. It sounds so hippy dippy, and I'm not like a hippy dippy person.
No, this audience is very receptive to what you're saying. So you're good.
Right. Yeah, good. Because and again, it's another thing that we've forgotten to do. And we sort of, our kids and us, we're in this situation where we're like in our air-conditioned houses, and then we drive them in our air-conditioned cars to their air-conditioned schools, or we go to offices, or we come straight back to the office and stare at a screen for 5 hours. And then to work out, we sort of think that we have to do certain things. So we go to an air-conditioned gym to do something that's trendy, that we've seen that we should be doing, and it makes you get skinnier faster, or whatever it is. And these are all things I've just been like, I just really know what makes me feel good, what makes me sleep better, what makes my skin better. And it's getting outside, and it's getting vitamin D, and it's getting fresh air. And it's actually, there's so much evidence about how engaging with nature just reduces the cortisol rushing through your body. It regulates your circadian rhythms to help you get a really good night's rest that's meaningful and actually helps you replenish yourself. So yeah, I'm all about just getting outside now. So it's as simple as that. And I do that with my children too. And I notice how just spending time in nature changes all of our moods. Like, we can be ghastly to each other. We can all be fraught and anxious. I've turned into Miss Hannigan from Mary Poppins, which is something I never thought I had in me until I had children. And I'm like, wow, I have got a temper. I didn't know I did. And, we're all arguing and we're all stressed, and we're all like disconnected off in our separate rooms, like on separate devices. And I'll be like, right, no, outside now. And they'll moan, they'll grumble. My husband will moan and grumble. And then we get outside, and it's amazing. It's like this calming wash of green comes over us, and we're all just a bit more pleasant to each other.
And this episode is sponsored by Masa. Masa is a fitness company based out of Atlanta, Georgia. They have hundreds of on-demand workouts and recoveries for everyone, new movers and athletes alike, 300 and growing. Podcast listeners can get 30 days free on top of a 14-day trial with the coupon code MOTHERHOODUNSTRESSED30. Now, after 44 days, a subscription of just $9.99 per month is available to you. Now, remember, these are workouts that fit every schedule. Whether you have 10, 30, or 60 minutes, you're going to be able to get it in a creative way. And they're actually enjoyable, driven by music and amazing coaching. So if you are someone who has been looking for an extra push, an extra hand to help you up, this is where you want to go. So be sure to download the Masa app on your smartphone and use my code MOTHERHOODUNSTRESSED30 to save.
So I'm really a big fan of what I call the green prescription. And I write me and my kids a green prescription every day where we have to, even if it's 10 minutes, we have to get outside because there is nothing that it doesn't make better.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And I felt that. I mean, we've all experienced that. I think, even the woman listening to this has absolutely felt that. Do you find too that, when you are out in nature, when you are tree bathing, that your intuition is being honed, that you're able to trust your gut more, make better decisions, not worry about making the wrong decision more? Talk to us about that, your intuition.
Yeah, that's so interesting that you bring that up because I'm hugely into that. I'm just, I come from a long line of women who have had really terrible relationships with men. So, all of us, I thought I'd be the first one in my family of women not to get a divorce. And then shockingly at 30, I find myself divorced. And, but throughout all this like ancestral trauma that the women in my family have had to deal with, there's been one message that's like rung through us all, which is like, listen to warning bells. You can hear the warning bells, but you listening to the warning bells. And that's just another way of saying like, trust your gut and learn to follow your instincts. We all should do this more. It's sometimes hard to like marry your heart with your head when it comes to trusting your gut. Nature, being in nature gives you the space, doesn't it, to just zone out and actually daydream. Like that's another thing we don't do anymore. We don't give ourselves time to daydream. And I do think in generations, like a few down, we'll possibly notice how that's negatively affected our ability to create and be poets and artists. I really actually worry about that. That's one of the things that keeps me up at night, worrying, because I do believe we do need that time to daydream and drift off and imagine and create. And we don't give ourselves enough time for that. But anyway, going back to like listening to warning bells. Yeah, sometimes we need to shut out the cacophony of noise that is just all around us, drowning us out. I know people that can't get to sleep without listening to the news, or they can't drive without having music on really loudly. And I have moments like that too, but we're sort of scared of silence. I think as a generation, we're almost scared of silence. And that's why when I'm out in nature, or my kids are, we're not out there, watching the news on the iPad under a tree. We're actually, just trying to listen, as I said, to like bird song or pitter patter of rain on a roof or whatever. And certainly in silence, it's the time where you get to think about things you've done or the things you want to do, and to think about what's really the right decision for you and your family. And this comes back again to the get real message that runs throughout the book, is that I talk about really how I think a good way to be is to maybe under promise and over deliver. So I don't talk about everything I want to do or everything I plan or every goal I've set myself. I don't share it with the world. I prefer to sort of, keep things in my own little space and to trust my gut. Because I have this thing now, as I said, I'm 46. I've learned quite a few lessons by now. And I've learned to trust my gut, to know what is good for me. So I don't need to ask opinions from everyone. I have a few really key people in different areas of my life who I really trust, and I am so grateful for them. But on the general day-to-day, I don't need to ask for advice from all and sundry, people I meet in coffee shops. I don't. I can trust my gut well enough now to know if something is a good decision for me and my family. And that's what I mean by I under-promise and over-deliver. Like, people might say, "Oh, what are you doing next?" And I'll be like, "Oh, I've got a few things going on," but I need to work out internally whether it's right for me before I sort of talk about everything. And then I feel like I can over-deliver, because then they're like, "Oh, wow, I didn't know you were doing that. When were you doing that? You made that look easy." And I'll always be like, no, it wasn't easy. I didn't sleep for 3 months. I haven't washed my hair for 3 weeks, but I just didn't share every moment and every decision with you. And I don't know whether I think a lot of it comes from being a mum, because when you're a mum, you're like on your toes, and you're and there's so many decisions you have to make for your children every single minute of the day. And then getting older, and then again, having been through some quite traumatic stuff in my life, I think all of that helps you to hone your gut. And it helps you to know that you can listen to warning bells and you can change your future. Even if you're on a path, you can stop and go, whoa, this isn't what I was expecting. I can change. And I think a lot of that, I think the power of being a mother helps with that, aging, and then just going through some not great stuff. It can really help you to listen to yourself rather than the cacophony of people around you. Because often you want to trust everyone else's opinion, but people have their own agendas, they have their own issues. We love to think that everyone's supportive of everyone, but there is still a little shafts of Schadenfreude hanging around where people maybe don't wish you well. So I think get a few people that you can trust in your life, and then really look internally to make decisions.
Yeah. And that's what comes across so clearly in the book. It's really like helping the woman reading that to get in tune with who she really is, to become more mindful, to trust her intuition so that she can live a life that is truly authentic. And I think that authenticity is something that is thrown around a lot. But again, I would say most of us are living an inauthentic life on some level. Why do you think that is?
I think we're all just trying to be this person that we're told we should be. And again, I hate to keep going on about social media, because I was in celebrity magazines for a long time. The reason I'm in America is because I came over here to launch OK Magazine, and I ran that for 5 years in New York. And it was happening then, celebrity magazines, the tabloids put across images of like, who looks best in this, who looks best in that. There's so much pressure on women that I'm guilty of profiting from or taking part in as a magazine editor. So for a long time, there's just been too much external pressure on women to look a certain way, to think a certain way, to do certain things. And then when you become a mother, another layer gets put on top of that your children have to look a certain way and think a certain thing and do a certain like a hobby or reach a certain grade. There's just so much pressure on us that so many different syndromes have been like formulated around this. There's like, superwoman syndrome, where we all think we have to be superwomen and we have to, put ourselves on a pedestal that we then live up to every day. But sometimes I don't want to be superwoman. Sometimes on a Sunday, the kids and I will be like, should we just wear our pajamas all day? And should we just watch back to back like Paddington movies and just not do anything? And there's pizza in the fridge from last night when I couldn't be bothered to make dinner. Should we just eat cold pizza? And they're like, yeah, that sounds great. So I've like given up trying to be the superwoman. And then there's another syndrome that I was researching called like rushing woman syndrome, where we all got caught up in this like mad frenetic hamster wheel where we all thought we had to be rushing all the time. And if we weren't rushing, we weren't as socially valuable or socially important. And I see it in like my brilliant, kind, wonderful friends who are like, oh, well, I've got 4 meetings and I've got this and then I've got that. And, I can't really be bothered to go for drinks, but I said I'd go for a happy hour and then I should have dinner and then I'll have like sex with my husband and then I'll go and do this and then I'll like record this. I'm like, oh my God, you sound crazy. And it's like, but that's what, and they're like, wow, you must be really important. Wow. And now I'm like, again, it's an age thing. Now I'm like, are you important though to yourself? Are you treating yourself as importantly as you should? Because what you actually need to do is have a long bath in a bucket of Epsom salts, and you need to read a good book that can be as terrible as you want. You can read the most trashy chick lit beach read that you want to read. You know, you don't have to read the latest thing that your book club is saying, oh, everyone's loving it. You know, I think we've all just lost this ability to just connect with what, you know, we're about. And so it's really interesting being a Brit in America. And I've been here for a long time now. I've been here for like 15 years. So when I go home, my friends think I've become really American. And then here, people think I'm really British. And it's funny because I feel like, you know, I can take the best things of both and sort of combine them. And that's really helped how I write my books, actually. Because Americans like, I love you. You're just so positive and optimistic all the time. Like you're real, just as a nation, I know that I'm generalizing wildly here, but it saves time. So I'm going to do it. So on the whole, you're just very positive and go-getting and believe you can do anything. And the downside of that is possibly that it makes you all very competitive, like with each other. And then in England, in the UK, we're all miserable. We're very grumpy. We're cynical. We don't think we could do anything. Or if we do it, it's a bit embarrassing because our friends maybe haven't got there. So then we don't want to show off. So that makes us, you know, a bit curmudgeonly. So I've really noticed these two things about, you know, my two favorite countries in the world, knowing them so well. And now I sort of try and combine that. So I try and be, you know, have the positivity that Americans have so naturally in them. But it's kind of toned down to like be a bit more realistic and not to hate myself if I don't like do better than everyone else around me, or I don't get a huge car or a huge house or whatever. So I've sort of combined the American positivity with British like realism in a way that I think is quite a good way to be. Because I do notice that my friends over here in America can get so competitive that it actually wears them down.
Yeah.
And they worry too much what other people think or what other people like next door are doing or whatever. And it's not healthy. And they think I'm strange because I'm just like, who cares? You're only in competition with yourself. At the end of the day, you have to live with yourself. Are you being the best version of you that you can be? And they'll be like, no, the best version of me would be, I won't do an American accent. The best version of me would be someone who actually just like got to finish Ted Lasso and have a glass of wine and not care and not get up at 5 a.m. to go and work out because then it makes me grumpy for the rest of the morning. And I'm like, well, honey, just be you because everyone else is taken, right? And this sort of situation we're in that is going back to you, as you said, to like this inauthenticity, it's not really doing any of us any good because at the end of the day, you're just with yourself, aren't you? So you can put on the best show in the world when you go and pick up your kids from the school gates. But if you come home and you feel awkward or intimidated or like weird about a conversation that you had that you knew wasn't really you, it's all worthless.
Right.
It's all worthless.
I think that's so important because, you know, to the woman listening to this right now, like she's definitely felt that, you know, so hopefully that's sinking in and giving her the confidence and the bravery to go out into the world and be a little bit more authentic. Would you say that when that first starts to happen, when the woman starts to let herself truly go out and be herself, do you think it's a good feeling necessarily, or is it a fear-induced feeling? Like, how would you express that?
So I sort of decided when I moved to America, I was kind of like, I'm going to just be myself more. And you do get judgment. I mean, so that's a hard thing for women to deal with anyway. Yeah. But I will make comments that I think I get away with it actually because people are like, oh, she's just British. She's a bit odd. Yeah. But I will say things like, you know, awful things. But like I don't own an iron, or I don't take take clothes to dry cleaners. I'm just like, I don't really care that much about what I look like anymore. And friends are really shocked that I don't iron anything and that my kids just wear like soccer kits permanently, like all the time if they want to. And I'm like, well, that's easier for me. Or I'll be honest about, you know, other people are like, oh, you know, our other half is so kind and amazing. And I'll be like, really? Because mine's a bit annoying, so I'm like, never, or my children are, when I first started, like my son started kindergarten, and all the other, and they're in a great public school here in Texas, and the other mums were sort of like everyone's looking each other up. These are the parents we're going to be stuck with for the next year, what they're going to be like. And they were like, well, what's the exam situation? What's the gifted and talented situation? My son's already read all the Harry Potters. I was like, oh God, my son can't read. Like, seriously. So I was getting in a bit of a panic, and I thought, well, no, it doesn't matter, because, William Shakespeare's mum wasn't in kindergarten meetings showing off about him. So, it's all fine.
Yes.
And then, so what my question was, like, how many recesses will the kids get? And I actually said, my son is like a golden retriever puppy. He needs to run around, like, otherwise he'll drive you mad. And all the other people are like, oh, this is horrific. How dare she, even if it's true, how can she say this in front of us? And I was like, it's true. And then afterwards, I was sort of like leaving, and other mums were like, oh, we're so glad you said that, because we were worried about recess. And I was like, why didn't you say it? There's no shame in just being, there's shame in being you if you're some horrifically mean, awful person. But if you're just your average mum trying to do the best for herself and her kids, there's no shame. So I think we have to it comes back to just caring less about what other people think. And a good friend of mine sort of said to me recently, she said, I've just realised something, and it's made me so happy. And I was like, what? And she's like, I've realised that, I can very often do without people. I can do without people. And I was like, what do you mean? She's like, I love my family and I love my friends, but I can just do without people and their judgments and their opinions and their noise. I can just do without people. And that really, I was like, oh, and I've used that a few times when other people are telling me, oh, my colleagues are saying this, my colleagues doing that, and I feel like I have to go to this cocktail thing, or I have to do this, but I don't want to. And I'm like, yeah, I can do without people most of the time. I'm so happy just with like a conversation that actually means something with one good friend, or I'm happy on my own watching a great film, a great movie, so I think in an attempt to be more authentic, just actually think about who you want to spend your time with, and what you want to do with your time, because we forget about that as well, don't we?
We're not here forever. It goes by so quickly. And mothers, I think, are aware of that. You watch your kids grow up and they're changing year by year so dramatically. It's like, it's a reminder. It's like a warning bell, like your time is going. Pay attention, be here.
Yeah.
I love it.
I do talk about that a lot, actually, in the in Get Real, because there's a brilliant book written by a hospice nurse who talked about what people say in their last moments and their last like cognitive conversations that they can have with her, the nurse, or with their family. And she said, and none of them are talking about their jobs or their cars or their houses. They're all talking about their regrets, that they wish they'd spent more time with their friends. They wish they'd been more honest with their partner. They wish they'd looked after themselves more and enjoyed being themselves more, instead of being buried under like social armor. And when I read that book, it really, again, I read that at the beginning of writing Get Real, and it really shaped what I thought about authenticity. And again, it is sad, but I think death has hit us all so much over the last 18 months of the pandemic, that it has made us realize that. And that's why, living in the moment has become such a cliche, but it's something that, we should try to do more. And just being grateful for what we have, because you never know when things are going to change. I've just been sort of like tsunamied with grief from people I love around me, that have had parents die, or siblings diagnosed with cancer, or have just recently gone through divorces that they never saw coming, that has left them brokenhearted. And with all of this stuff that's like swirling around all of us right now, to be able to know that this is just one day and that we can move on from it, and that next week it will hurt a little less, or next year it will hurt a little less, is so important to us at this time. and also to find that gratitude for things that are still good. So, even my great, beautiful friend who's been treated appallingly by her husband, she's amazing, and she's managing to find the light in, like, actually, it's quite nice having this woman's house where it's just me and the kids, and we're watching what we want to watch, and we're eating what we want to watch, and we're not walking on like something that like a phrase my mum coined, which is like an eggshell carpet. We're not having to walk on an eggshell carpet anymore. And I'm finding new hobbies, and people that I'd lost contact with have heard about my news and have come out the woodwork. So she's doing a brilliant job, even though she is utterly heartbroken and shocked. She's finding these little things to be grateful for and happy about, which I admire her for so much. And it's a lesson to all of us to remember to do that. Yeah. Because there are always little diamonds there. Yeah. You can see them.
I love that. And I think that truly comes back to the message of the book, Get Real. I mean, being a leader for yourself, and you end up becoming a leader for your children, for your community, for the other moms out there who don't maybe have the wherewithal or the insight at that moment to be themselves. You've just given them a spark. And so it really is a positive ripple effect that starts with you and your relationship with yourself. So I just want to say thank you for writing it. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you.
And just to kind of end us all out here with everything that you know and have studied and researched and intuitively know, what do you want the woman listening to this to remember from this talk?
Oh, that's a good one. One of my favorite things that I think about a lot as we're all dealing with fraught times and relationships and friendships changing and all that is that an aunt said to me, if you find yourself caught in a negative situation that doesn't feel authentic to you and is making you unhappy, just to know that you can remove yourself from that situation, that you don't have to maintain relationships, be it on social media. You can block people. You can leave Twitter if it's unhealthy for you. And in relationships with people, if you leave anything where you meet a friend for dinner and you leave questioning yourself or doubting yourself, you can leave, you can walk away, you do have more power than maybe you think you do. And my aunt, a great aunt, used to say to me, now let me get this absolutely right. She used to say to me, don't blame the clown for acting like a clown. Mm. You need to ask yourself why you're still buying tickets to her circus. And I love that. And I think just that very funny, simple phrase makes you think, yeah, you don't have to engage with people that are not quite right for you, that make you feel bad, that make you feel silly. You don't have to engage. You can stop buying tickets to that circus. And I think that's really the message of Get Real. You don't have to engage in anything that you don't need to, that feels false or copied or unhealthy to you. That women and mothers, and we all have much more power over relationships and situations than we give ourselves credit for. So please stop buying tickets for any circuses that you don't enjoy going to anymore. You can do it.
Yeah, this is your sign. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Dr. Sarah Ivens, where can people find out more about you and get the book?
So my books are available in all good bookshops across the US and on Amazon. So, and then on Instagram, I'm Sarah Lucy Ivens, and I share sort of tips of wisdom and failures and lots of other stuff, lots of shots of trees, as you can imagine. There's lots of sunset views and trees. So yeah, so find me there. And it was so nice talking to you.
I know.
Thank you for having me.
It was so lovely. Thank you.
This episode is sponsored by Mommy Makeup. There's a saying, necessity is the mother of invention. Well, it's also the mother of Mommy Makeup. After being a professional makeup artist for over 20 years, Deborah Rubin Roberts had the privilege to work with some of the best brands and talent in the beauty industry. But it was when she became a mom that everything changed, and she developed her own makeup line, Mommy Makeup, clean beauty for busy women. She figured that if she needed cosmetics that were fast and easy to use and gave makeup artists quality results, surely other women did too. And she was right. Everything in Mommy Makeup is talc-free, paraben-free, cruelty-free, non-comedogenic, which just means it won't clog your pores, multitasking, and made in the United States.
Now, I love the triple stick. I use it on my lips, my cheeks, and my eyes, and it just knocks out so much time when I'm trying to rush out the door and get to work and still look beautiful and presentable. And one thing that I love about her products is that they really do last all day. So if I'm on set all day, I know I can rely on the lipstick. It's going to stay there and look great the whole entire day. So if you are interested in checking them out for yourself, be sure to take advantage of their free color consultation service, and you get $10 off when you do that. It's just someone walking you through and helping you pick the best colors for you based on a picture of you with no makeup on. And it really does help. It really makes the process that much better. It's a win-win for the company and for you. And be sure, if you do see anything that you love, use my code UNSTRESSED to save. And you can just head over to mommymakeup.com to learn more. This episode is sponsored by Pakli. Pakli means joy in Nahuatl, the language of the Aztecs. It's one of the ancient cultures that revered amaranth. Their founder, Sina Kriti, grew up in Mexico eating alegrías, which also means joy, a snack dating to the 16th century made from puffed amaranth and honey or chocolate. Pakli is her version of the ancient Mexican alegrías. Pakli has puffed amaranth, quinoa, and millet, highly nutritious ancient grains that are also considered superfoods. They mix those grains with high-quality organic ingredients, including chocolates, whole dried fruits, and nuts. There's never any additives, and it's always preservative-free. I love snacking on Pakli with my coffee, but my kids also love it in their lunches or as their morning snack. They always ask for it, and my son Nash loves the dark chocolate, which is vegan. So Pakli is geared towards the adventurer food lover that appreciates other cultures and is inquisitive. It brings joy in every bite and will keep you coming for more. And that's something that you don't have to feel guilty about. You're going to be, soothing that sugary sweet tooth, but you're doing it with foods that are packed with nutrition. So if you would like to try out Pakli for yourself, head on over to paklifoods.com. That's PAKTLI foods.com, and be sure to use my code motherhood15 to save 15%.